Greetings, Internet. We're going to do a walkthrough of the guts of the Chameleon Pinball engine. It's actually a swappable system. Tell me in a nutshell what we're working with here.
I can't hear you, sorry.
What are we working with here? You said swappable?
Yeah, so when the plate fails, let me open it up and show you.
Yeah. On the internet.
There's not much in here. The plate failed itself. Let me cut the power.
Yeah.
So, to let you know, in the power stream, these are the power drivers. The red lights will go out. It's down to safe voltages in about 2 seconds. And then the lights just take about
2 seconds, flat.
Yeah, about 2 to 3 seconds, somewhere in there. So we got 38 volt power, 5 volt power for LEDs, and USB. I can now lift the plate field out. I can swap it, pop in another plate field, plug it in.
How many minutes did you say?
I said 2 minutes, but most of that's taking.
Let's just say 3 if you're like, just woke up, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Wow. So it's truly swappable. Like a lot of systems, they were not so swappable. So that's USB, 5 volt.
And it's hot plugged, so it's already reconnected.
Instantly.
Instantly. I turned off the logic, but it's already running connected. Just by it's a hot plug USB. It took me a while to figure that one out.
So how does it boot so quickly? Because it's like already up the system.
Oh.
Booting?
Yeah, it's booting. Let's give it a minute.
Well, let's go through the layout here. So there's the...
So that's the controller signal light when the controller is sending out a signal so I can debug.
These are new magnet coils. This from like Adam's Family, or is that from like Iron Man? Yeah.
I don't know.
It's probably the same thing that's in like an Adam's Family.
I mean, it's the same size specs as the originals. I just wanted a fresh set.
Yeah, and they don't age like a fine wine. Like stuff wears out.
I actually got the thermistor to kick on once. I was a little worried it was burned out for sure. But after about an hour, it cooled down enough. It was hot. It was very hot. And I was happy to have that. When I was testing with the original magnets, I was feeling some heat on the plate build, and I was a little worried I might start a fire. So, yeah, the magnets, outside of having a fuse.
So that's the fail-safe right there.
Yeah.
But
it's
the fuse.
hardwired to the power driver. There is no solenoid, there's no relay, it's direct right off.
Wow, okay.
So everything is about this is about being simple. So the I/O controller, each one of these wiring harnesses is just a divide connector. Each one of these I have pre-made for a buck. It's 3 feet long. You just throw it on, and then you, from the middle of the plate field, you can reach pretty much any corner. No problem with 3 feet.
Right. Wow. Okay. From there to there. From there to there.
Depending on how quick you are, 1 to 2 days.
Wow.
I also use the same colors. Notice I don't care about wire color, and there's a reason I don't care about wire color. I map in the software where everything goes. So after you wire everything up, you start off with your lamps, and it will flash lamps. And first you configure your plate build. You drag your lamps onto the plate build, and it'll flash the lamp on the plate build, and then you click on the image of the lamp, and it's flashing. So at that point, you now map that wire, that connection, that pin to that lamp. It now knows. You do the same thing with switches. It'll say click the switch, and you go and press the switch on the plate field, and you map the switches. And then your last step is you'll map the solenoids, and it'll fire anything else. And you just click the image of which solenoid is firing. So you can map the whole thing in about 10 minutes, which you saved a lot more than 10 minutes on wiring alone because you don't have to worry about freaking wire colors. The only colors I use are yellow for switches, just because I like a different color. Blue is the inner power ground, I don't remember. Red is the power, and white is the ground on the LED outputs. Now these LED outputs are also run straight into your power driver. So I'm using lights on and off and volts width modulated to also control the power driver. So why go more complicated? It's all direct, no matrixing. Everything's direct connect. I've done high-speed video All the lights coming on and off at the same time. There is no lag at all. It's incredible. Perfect sync. These LEDs, I created those myself, but honestly I hate them. I've already come up with a new LED design.
What's wrong with, what don't you like?
They're just too big. They were originally
Yeah.
If you look up here, you see these two that are connected. I had them in strips of 8, and I spaced them to work on modern firepower.
Lights.
And on the bonus lights, and I could wire them all up at one end, and the traces run down full length. But then they're very piece board, so I could snap them apart into smaller ones. But they just don't go small enough. So you look here, some of them are stacked. So I'm doing something very similar to Golden Nuclear Annihilation's LEDs, but I put these quick connect wire headers on them, so they're a little more.
Right. Oh yes, please.
So you just run
Please.
strip it, plug it in.
Yes. Yes. I like that a lot.
So I've got on this one 112 outputs, 56 switch inputs. For my next revision, I want to make it daisy chain. So I've got the one USB cable coming in. This is a 4-port USB hub. So I'm controlling 3 chips on here. So I've got one hub left over. I could daisy chain to the next port. So if I wanted to take this up to 200 or 300, there's really no limit.
We got new coils, new clipper assemblies.
Yeah, here's the Alvin G with a Williams coil on it.
Yeah.
It was too weak. I don't know what that Alvin G was, but it was a dead coil, so I had to swap it.
Oh wow.
And this one is too powerful, so I had to pulse width modulate it to prevent from breaking my 3D printed drop targets. It was so strong going up that it was shearing off this bottom lip that's supposed to stop it. That's where I was breaking most of the time. So I figured out how to make these stronger, but I also pulse width modulate. I'm at like 30% power lifting it, and it's perfect.
Yeah, that's a newer thing in pinball is, well, you did it in the design process, but as an option, changing the strength of certain components within reason. CERN gives you those options, but they let you go a little too low or a little too strong. To me, the range is way too high and way too low at times, but it should be dialed in from the factory, and then I don't like much leeway, a little leeway, but in the design process, you need to adjust. You can't just slap things in, right? I mean, there might be a coil that fits that has enough power just right, but what you did is just as good, if not better.
My mentality, if it fits, I can make it work.
If it what?
If it fits, I can make it work. I gave.
Yeah.
I got my stern kickers. I like these better. They're one unit. They're easier to
And the Data East knocker.
Yeah, that's my kind of knocker.
Again, like I was telling a previous interview today, 23800, the 23800. These are very common coils. The FL series. They're very common coils that last tens of thousands of plays. I say don't reinvent the wheel. Just use these parts, because for what you pay, they last beyond what you paid. You get your money's worth.
Yeah,
like if you buy any of these components for any of these games or anything you buy in life, you take the price, divide it out by its lifespan. That's the real price. So like everything you're putting in here, like these magnet coils, they'll be here a very, very, very long time. They rarely really go out. I mean, they last a long time. And all the components. So it's the same thing with what you're developing here. These should last a very long time.
So like my power driver is a shrunken version of the power driver I use in modern turbo. That's the machine you've seen before. That power driver is still working flawlessly 9 years later. So all this is a miniaturized version of that with some advanced lighting on it, a little easier to hook up. One of the reasons I went with 8 instead of 16 is like, well, if you need 24, it's cheaper to get the 24 with 3 8s and 9 32 if you're doing 16.
Ah, you're right. And the footprint, I like it's more versatile of a footprint to have an
And it's
8.
small enough that you can put it locally in the area. I keep my wire run short, and it's yeah, I've got my 3 power drivers spread across the board wherever there was a nice little open spot. And they could be mounted more, or at least the I/O controller could be vertical if you needed more space.
Ah, okay, right.
Now the other thing that's really cool about this, I mean, look how clean the back box or the cabinet is. There's nothing down here.
The transformer.
Back here. So we've got the 38 volt power supply. We've got a 5 volt LED. We've got these 2 right here are both for the startup shutdown controller. That's actually the Scott and Nessie design.
Ah, okay.
So 2 of those are for that. We've got the monitor, and we've got the PC, and we've got one more 5 volt, or no, 12 volt for the D&D. So that's all that's down here, just a few power supplies. This is one of those smart switches, so I had the computer control it. When the computer goes off, then it shuts down the power to everything else.
Ah, okay.
And then in the back box, so this is just a D-Case 27-inch computer monitor. I direct wired the speakers to it. At home it's plenty loud, but here you can't hear it. So if I wanted to, I could make it louder with an amp.
It's a bin DMD.
Yeah. So you've got your speakers, you've got your DMD, you've got your monitor, and then you've got this cheapest ass PC that you can buy on Amazon. Can you guess how much this costs?
200.
$130. $136 with tax. It can barely run Task Manager. It's so slow. It runs at 1.1 gigahertz. It's playing this game. I wanted to see how efficient I could make my software. I wanted it to run on the cheapest PC in the world, and this is the cheapest one I could find, and it's running. And it plays video, it plays the animations. It's when you press the flipper button, that signal goes over to the I/O controller, over the USB to the PC, and then back down to the controller to control the solenoids. That round trip is running through this right here, $130 cheap PC.
What model is that?
It's a B-Link T4 Pro. Nothing special about it.
So it's got HDMI, USB.
Yeah, it's got 4 USB. That was the main thing I wanted in HDMI. Beyond that, I don't really need much. I've looked at the ups. I think they used the up in TNA, and they seem a little expensive for what you get. I wouldn't mind having a little more horsepower. This game will really come alive. Like the right now, I can't open up the playfill configurator. This doesn't have enough memory to load the playfill configurator right now. But other than that, it's been a great little PC. It's a little toasty, but it's doing fine.
Oh, that's nominal.
1.1 gigahertz. They don't even go.
That's more than your phone. That's like less than your phone like 2 years, 3 years ago.
Yeah, my phone's faster.
We got Kenwood speakers. We got 4s. Just enough audio for that. Virtual pin. It's very clean. You can't really see in the video, but can you you have your phone? Can you put a light on?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I'll have him turn his light on real quick. All right. So the computer. I'll show the pin DMD area. Wiring is, again, very clean. Nothing really. Sometimes when people are making custom games or even newer games, they kind of jumble too many cables together. Whereas this, you can pretty much get to everything. Good cable managing. Obviously, this gentleman knows cable managing. It's a clean speaker panel, solid, all 4 screws. It's a Kenwood speaker. Good audio. It's good. I mean, really, anytime you take an older game and you put these speakers, it's like, oh, you hear a little frequency, a little range you never heard before. And this is the audio files. You have audio files added from.
Yeah, it's playing audio files from Monty Python's The Holy Grail. Most of it's the Black Knight, but also the Frenchman on the castle. You know, their quips, doing a lot of that. So I wish you could hear it. Right in this place, it's just so loud. You can't hear
wild.
anything.
It's wild. And then and the monitor fits. So what happens is you take the plastic bezel off of the monitor, and You make the mount, or that was the mount? You made the mount.
The silver is the mount that was in the original monitor.
It was already
so the
in
red
there.
is just a part I 3D printed just as a mount. So
Wow,
I pulled the red
wow.
part to the side, and then I pulled the monitor to the red.
A little 3D printing goes a long way. Oh God! So when I do custom stuff like arcade games, hey, I'm not proud of the arcade stuff I do, but I'm an operator. I do what I can to mount the monitors. That's hard, but this inspires me. Yeah, 3D printed parts fills in the gaps. Mind the gap. Wow.
And like this whole panel here, I had to 3D print it in 3 parts, and then I just glued it together.
Wait. This is 3D printed?
Yeah. It's
what?
I actually used the wood PLA, so it has a wood feel to it. It looks like wood.
This? Alright. I thought that was wood. Wow.
When you look at the side here, you can see how it's actually, printed out. Yeah, definitely
It's
got
3
wood.
pieces. You can see that. Yep, 3 pieces. Nice. So tell me your philosophy about measuring things correctly. I mean, this is measured correctly. This is, I mean, it's nice. This.
Thank you.
What's your philosophy on measuring things correctly? I mean, you just really.
Are you talking about like
everything? The whole. I mean, how the monitor's mounted.
It's just how I think. When I look, I have to work with paper. I have to mark down measurements. All of my dimensions, because like I told you, this is the first pinball machine I bought, and I bought this weekend. I never had a pinball machine to measure before. So I looked everything up on the internet to get measurements, and then I didn't like what I was finding, so I had to reverse engineer some of the measurements myself. People don't post online what measurements are to make your own cabinet, and they do, and it's not quite right. The parts don't fit. That's one of the challenges when you have to mount legs, when you have to mount rails, when you have to mount glass and the glass rail, everything has to be perfect or it doesn't fit.
So my rant and rave is few things that certain things you don't reinvent the wheel. A flipper button's a flipper button. A coil's a coil. Geometry, certain things you don't reinvent the wheel, but all the rest of it is up for creative license.
Absolutely.
Because if it looks right and it functions right, it doesn't short. Or if it doesn't make a ball hang up or air balls, everything else. I think the final frontier is engineering level in pinball, because a ball is a ball, a ramp is a ramp, a flipper is a flipper, and those are standard. Like you have 4 wheels on your car, that's a standard. You have a steering wheel. There's these standards in pinball, but everything else, like in the system, this is the next generation, the final frontier. This is the stuff that needs to go further. That needs to be more versatile.
That's right.
That when people, I mean, and that's why this game, with the changes you made, it is a new game. If you just change the art and theme, it's a new game. It would be. If you do a Monty Python, you make many people happy. I'm sick of seeing posts about Monty Python. Somebody make it. Somebody, because the people want it. And engineering is the next step. Technology is getting cheaper. A lot of tech is getting cheaper. I'm impressed with a lot of how 3D printing is going. We're getting there.
I've got did you see the Black Knight?
Yes.
That's 3D printed.
We're going to wrap up the video by showing you the Black Knight. There he is.
A little 3D printed on a resin printer, and then I painted. So he's our little mascot.
And here are the final notes. I mean, give a shout out to the home brewers. I mean, do you have any? Give them some.
Don't stop trying. I mean, we got to move the industry forward. Homebrew's getting better. We've got so many great kits out there. Hopefully one day I can have my kit out there as well, and we can just really keep going with it. I want to make it more accessible. But everybody just needs to free their mind and get rid of preconceived notions of what pinball should be. We can make it something more, make it customizable, make it tweakable, make it beautiful, and have fun with it all at the same time.
And my final rant is, there's certain things in pinball, in mechanical and electrical, but there's certain things in pinball that are stuck in the 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago. And I think we can make these things more of a masterpiece and more tech savvy and more options for. Because if you're buying a pinball machine, I want everybody to get their money's worth out of a new game. We love hobbyist enthusiasts modifying them, but I think the future is that customers get their money's worth, even if they don't know it. Like they get their money's worth and more. And I really like the system so far. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Have a good one.